like it's been a minute since I've been back here in this basement.
Yeah, and it's been transformed 100 times.
Yeah.
From the sports theme to the history of sports with me to ball side middle.
All the trophies was everywhere, everything, man.
We had big cabinets with cameras in there. We had the desk set up in the middle. We had the desk against the walls. We created a nice workspace. But we're here in Club Craig. No, I'm only kidding.
Club Craig.
Yeah, we were talking, and this is a problem that James and I have. Well, first and foremost, this is Craig Boothe, Boothe's Breakdown Podcast. And my guest, as many times as I can get him on camera, the man behind the camera is James Rapelyea.
Yes, sir.
A.K.A.
Yes, sir.
son-in-law, A.K.A. son.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit when he came over upstairs, and I was like, okay, why are there so many podcasts popping up, especially in the sports world?
Yeah, and well, like podcasts beat the news. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that like the news is just, you got to just totally disregard the news. But just from like an information age, how people receive media now, it's all on their phones. You're not really watching the news on your phone, but you can watch podcasts and it gives you the nitty gritty, the ins and outs. The news ain't going to do that for you. The news only going to cater to a certain demographic of people. It's going to tell you what, and I don't want to say they're going to tell you what they want you to know, but with podcasts, podcasts are the perfect opportunities to get under somebody's skin and really hop into somebody's mind. And the news is not going to do that.
No, absolutely. And I find, just to kind of stay on that point, with the podcasts that I'm seeing, and I'm a huge follower of podcasts, is the fact that you can get the bare bones truth. The news, if you go to station, it seems somewhat scripted.
Yeah, it does. And I feel like that's for a reason. That's because if you got a major company running, you know what I'm saying, your syndications and all those other types of things, there's only certain things that you're allowed to say that fit within the requirements of the people that are funding this. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that certain podcasts, you know what I'm saying, they got backings and sponsors, but I feel like those backings and sponsors come from them seeing like the authenticity, the transparency, and they're like, yo, let me tap into the truth. Right. You see what I'm saying? So
No,
I definitely think that works.
No, that's cool. And then you could also be your natural self, right? You don't have to go with the makeup, and of course you got to have a good system.
You got to look good.
You got to look good, and your camera's got to be right, and your angles and all that, which is what you do.
Yeah.
But for me, it's more or less just having a comfortable environment to chop it up and to talk about pretty much anything. And that's the goal of this podcast, is for you and I to chop it up. There'll be points of time when you'll have a guest here, and it'll be more from a chilling perspective, and this is more from both of our perspectives. And then when I have a guest here, I may be more from a sports perspective. Yeah. And as you can see, we got a visitor, our resident security, which is our dog. August is security. He makes sure everything's good down here, and make sure we're not dropping any food, because he got to pick it up if we do.
He's the house vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, but you're going to get down now. You're not going to come up and get in the camera, so we're going to see me getting them out of the way. Shoot.
Come on, man.
So we'll edit you out anyway, but go somewhere. Hey, go somewhere. There we go. So basically, what we were talking about with these multitude of podcasts that are out there, I'm finding athletes are finding more than one podcast or one platform to kind of address the audience. I mentioned today that I saw LeBron James drop a second podcast with J.J. Redick. J.J. Redick also has a second podcast, which was his signature podcast, where he really broke down X's and O's about basketball. J.J. Redick, former NBA player. LeBron James, of course, a current NBA player, all-time leading scorer. Then you see Gilbert Arenas having two podcasts and also appearing on others. You see the football guys doing it. So what I'm finding is athlete content from Draymond Green to even now Stephen A. is in the podcast space, is giving them the freedom. And that's the thing where we're at, and why this podcast is important and critical to us, is that James and I have decided long time ago, but we're really going public with this, is to be independent.
Yeah.
Now, you came up with the concept higher self.
Higher self, do
Talk
your
about
work.
that, because that falls in line with the independence. Talk about higher self.
So higher self came about, I think I was down here one day, and I was just sitting here working and just being like in that entrepreneurial space, that space of wanting to just stay independent. I was just trying to kind of create some type of brand or some type of thing that I can attach to CHLN, you know what I'm saying, from a merch perspective, that kind of went along the lines of the things that I was into. So when I came up with Higher Self, also it kind of ties in like the spirituality of things of higher self. So when you look at higher self, it's a play on words, it's a double entendre. So what I say is like higher self, do your work, basically go independent. But while hiring yourself, doing your work, going independent, you're aligning yourself with your higher self. You see what I'm saying? So it everything is just it's all about the up and up with that. You know what I mean? Like do your work, because even spiritually, like you need to get right, see what's going on with you inside out, mentally, physically, wherever you at. Do your work. You got to hire yourself to do that. But it also plays into being independent. If you can't find a work, you can't find a way, make a way. Hire yourself, do the work, and make it happen.
And then you define your higher self. That's deep, because when I had mentioned higher self, this young lady I'm mentoring who has a business, and I'm telling her some of the paths that you and I are taking through this digital media world.
Yeah.
What's interesting was when I said higher self, she said, oh, the higher self, right? The highest you can be as self, the spirituality part. I didn't think of that. I said, no, H-I-R-E, higher self. Hire yourself, go independent. Don't wait for someone to give you the contract. Don't wait to have a client. Make yourself the client. Bring yourself to the table. And that was important for me because as I have a multitude of activities I'm involved in, a couple of different businesses, it's all dependent upon, except for one, which is my sport and event company, where we go out and we create events and we hire ourselves and partner and build relationships to do events. But on the other businesses, it was sort of like, okay, I got these products, I got these services, I got this experience to consult, et cetera. And I'm sitting here waiting for people to buy into. And then when you're talking about this independent digital world that we're in, that you can reach millions of people, as opposed to when you follow the old school script, the grassroots marketing or the consumer marketing, et cetera, you find yourself in these little niche markets because you're trying to tap into people that really, really have a need for this. But again, that is such a small market. But if you can develop a following, you can develop an interest in what you're doing, then those niche markets catch on. And then now you hire them. They don't hire you, you hire them, because you pick and choose where you want to go with it.
But you had to hire yourself to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So even when it comes to you, man, like just from knowing you and everything that you've done, like you've been in this space damn near your whole life. You know what I mean? So you really have the knowledge on what to do, the know-how. Now it's a new day and age, but like you said, like certain technologies, the old tricks still play today.
Absolutely.
It's just different now. And I feel like we're all in competition. And I don't want to kind of say like we're in competition, but it feels like we're in a race with this damn algorithm. How do we, you know what I'm saying, create content like this, put it out there, and have it be received with the intention of what we thought it should be? You know what I'm saying? Like I drop a clip knowing in my mind, like, yo, this joint about to go viral. But, you know what I mean? You're in this race for everybody else out there dropping stuff, you know what I mean, that you can kind of shy away from or be intimidated by the internet.
So let's stop right there, because you're hitting on some good things. One thing I want to address, when you said I have a lot of knowledge, I've been in this space for a while, I have a lot of knowledge of failing. More so than succeeding. I've failed more than I succeeded, but through those failures, there were lessons learned.
Yeah.
So I just want to leave that nugget there. But the main nugget that you're dropping that's really deep, and that's spearing through my head, and I'm sorry to crash in, because when you're my age, if you don't crash in sometime, you're not going to remember
You just
your
got to
thought.
say it.
Right. But what's very interesting about what you said is this, and I don't think any of us thought about this. Let's use Facebook as an example. When Facebook dropped, we saw it as the next level of, what was the joint before that? MySpace, right? And we saw it as a platform that eventually allowed us to control our content. It opened and expanded the pictures and then video and then the back and forth discussions, the interactions, right? But what was deep about it was none of us was paying attention to Facebook's plan, what Facebook was trying to do behind the scenes. So they say, hey, I'm going to capture your attention which is kind of what we're doing here with this podcast and this digital media. I'm going to capture your attention. I'm going to feed you something that you like. I'm going to tell you about, hey, I got a platform here that could do way better than MySpace, could give you all this access to put your content and really connect with people, especially people you haven't seen in years. So we all fell, right? Billions of us jumped on Facebook.
I know I did.
Facebook said, at the end of the day, when billions of people jump on, I'm collecting their data. I'm going to snatch their data. Now that I have their data, now that data becomes attractive. Because we said, man, this is a cool service for free. We were rolling for free. So then the data got out there and they started leveraging advertisements and talking to the corporate world, say, hey, I got some data on these people. I know where all the 35 and over is, or I know where all the 40-year-olds, and I know what they're buying, and I know what their habits are. I got their about information. Then I started being able to track where they're moving, like what hotel they checked in. If you ever see those things, your interests, what kind of food you like, based on what you posted.
It's kind of scary, man. Because also, like, it taps into, like, when you thinking about something, and then something pop up, you know what I mean? Like, it's fascinating, yet it's like, yo, what the heck is going on? Right. And you got a background in risk.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm pretty sure you could speak to, like, just from having a company like that and knowing you got all this data out there as a company. Like, so from a risk side, like, what are some things that you think about, like, when you're on Facebook?
Well, interestingly enough, is that you can't control what they're doing with your data other than get off and not use it. But the platform is so accessible for you to be able to promote your businesses or connect with people or basically become the greatest philosopher in the world, and I'm going to drop these jewels on people, you know, or I'm going to be a preacher, whatever the case. But the only way you really can control is not to get on. But if you are on, the next level of control is to make sure that you have security checks. You have in your Equifax, in your other agencies, Experian, and you could basically track if anybody's touching your credit profile. And then you have your banks. You tell your banks that, you know, you're going to have online banking, so you can go in every day and check the activity. Or if there's a deposit or withdrawal from your account, you get a notification on your phone. Those are different things that you can do just to kind of alert you. You put in those bells and whistles, or what we call controls. And that keeps you on the monitoring side. But you're not going to be able to kind of build that firewall to make sure, like a second firewall, other than the firewalls that exist within the banking industry that you bank with, or some of the retail places that you do business with. But what's also interesting about, going back to a little bit about the Facebook sort of mission, right? Or let's just say their business model. So they captured all this data. They made the data available to corporate advertisers and people that want to do business with you or attract you. But then the next thing they did, they said, okay, now we got smart. We started posting not just pictures, we started posting flyers and business opportunities and you know, things that we're trying to promote and market. And then Facebook says, okay, fine. I'm going to now lower your algorithms, lower the number of people. You may have 2,000 friends, but you ain't going to touch 25 people, less than 1/100% of the people that's on your Facebook. I'm going to limit you to that. And then based on limiting you, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to charge you if you want to expand more. So when they say add a boost and you can get another 800 people to touch or another 1,000, they're basically saying, I'm just going to open up your own particular algorithm to the people that you know. So they're not going to 1,000 strangers. And if you think about the Facebook universe, if I pay, $5, I don't know the number, but if I pay $5 to touch another 5,000 people, and there's billions of people, they look at your friends first to see if any of those fit in the demographic.
They still control.
They're controlling, and it's really, because it takes too quick of a time to be able to give you the profile and get your ads to them. I would beg to challenge that if there's a person on Facebook that does no marketing, never posted a flyer, never posted an invite, never posted anything promotional, whatever, and just simply maybe posted a picture, say happy anniversary. Because when you see happy anniversary, happy birthday, your algorithm opens up like crazy.
Everybody and their mama know you now.
So that's the gift,
Yeah.
right? That's the Facebook gift. I'm gonna let 200 people make comments on your happy birthday. But when you look at the other side of it, right, you got to say, man, they're controlling what I can do, and now they found a way to get revenue from me, right? Just to boost and the boost. I mean, we've tried it.
Yeah.
The boost is like, to me, it's not great.
It works, but yet again, it doesn't work.
Right.
Unless there's some type of connection being built off to everybody that engages with it. Because you can boost it, 100,000 people may see it, but if 100,000 people are not repeat viewers or not inquiring about you, it's just a view.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So what I find with all of these social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, is to say, okay, I'm not going to depend on you as a free way of getting into my people, but I'm going to post content that is meaningful to people that would want to do business with me. So in this case here, when we're talking about, the podcast, and this is our first episode, to really just break down what we're going to be dropping from a nugget perspective. We're going to be talking about so many varying topics. My whole thing is, somebody's going to say, man, them two brothers is onto something. Them two brothers have a lot of things to offer, whether it's technical or knowledge or what have you. And then that will turn into people sharing. And that's the key, right? People sharing the messages, right?
What's it? The engagement on the post, like from shares, replies, and all that other type of stuff.
And I think that will open up the door for people. Your algorithm opens up the door by leveraging other people who are sharing. So my algorithm's 25 people, yours is 25, and you share my content, now it's 50 people.
Yeah.
We get 10 people to do that, we got 500 people possibly looking at our content. And I think that's the key. But the only way you're going to get people to share your stuff, you have to be profound.
Yeah.
And not do nothing stupid. Nah, don't get me wrong.
Nah, the stupid stuff works because we all like crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's positive or negative.
Right.
But I think even with what you're saying is, it's like from being profound, people have to like take away something. Whether it's a pull on emotion, like you said, either a nugget, somebody was like, man, I was just thinking about that dude. This gave me, you know what I'm saying, the confidence to go out there and do it. Something like that. Or it just has to entertain somebody. Right. And going back to what podcasting is entertaining. Yep. It's informational. You know what I'm saying? And it also pulls on your emotions.
Absolutely.
So it hits all those three categories based off who you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? It hits all three of those categories, which I think the social networks then leverage that. Like, oh, we know people want this. Right. So now let's take this and push it out.
So one of the other interesting things, all right, so I told you the other day I picked up this app. I'm not going to give them no credit for it because, we ain't in the business of really promoting other people's stuff yet.
Except our own Ball Side Middle.
Our own stuff. Yeah, my book, Ball Side Middle, Sports Management Leadership Institute. We'll talk more about that later. But the app that allows you to use their templates and create 15, 30, and under a minute videos, or let's just say posts, right? And I found it interesting because I was sharing this with my boy. My boy just opened up a franchise-owned wing spot down in North Carolina. And I was telling him, you got to get on social media. You got to do what we're doing, right? Yeah. Let people know about your business. You're the owner, you and your wife, blah, blah, blah. So I sent them one of my videos. Actually, I sent them the video that you did for X Golf.
Oh, yeah, okay.
46 second. All right. And, man, I was talking to him while he was watching the video. He said, man, I done watched this 4 times in this conversation. So that's 4 views. So the quicker the views go, boom, 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 boom,
the
boom,
more you
boom.
can run it up, yeah.
That's how them views get run up. Because you're like, man, I want to catch everything. It was of interest. If it's the music, first 10 seconds, right? That music or those opening, whatever words you put out there or images. And then all of a sudden, I got to run it back because I found myself doing that.
Yeah.
I'll run it back 5, 6, 7 times. Or if it's real cool, You know, especially if you post something about my grandson.
Yeah.
I'll be like, man, let me watch this. You get about 10, 20 views from me.
But that's also a play off the algorithm too, because as you kind of see, content is getting shorter. Like the consumption is more. We want more content, but in shorter spurts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's just like we made, like prime example, like we may have an hour-long podcast. Yeah, there's good content in there, but people, they don't want to sit through it. So that's why we post those reels with the quotes and everything, and it hit real quick, and it goes viral, because we want stuff fast, and it better be good, and it better hit one of my emotions to make you based off of what I was talking about earlier. So even so, with your guy watching the video, like, I watched this about 4 or 5 times when we was on it. That's how you know things work. But I feel like there's a deeper science with the mission of, like, I have this 40-second video. It's clean, it's cool. What else could we do to basically increase more engagement within 40? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just flash and do. I like it. But, you know, commercials be 7 seconds.
Exactly.
And they still be working.
See, that's like that Club Shay Shay, right? We were teasing that in the beginning. And when he dropped that Cat Williams, for me, because, you know, I see a lot of his excerpts. But he started dropping those, they don't call them excerpts now, these little hits, like you just talking about, these flashes, that ultimately led me to the YouTube video. And I said, I'm going to sit down and watch this. Now, it took me about 2 days to watch the whole thing. It was like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it piqued my interest to say, man, I want to hear more. And then the next thing you know, everybody's social media started snatching and sharing those little clips. And then they were putting their stuff on top. Did you see the Cat Williams interview? And boom, boom, boom. And then they put their little, man, I don't know if I would believe them or not.
Yeah.
And then, so what it did was, we all talk about the number of views that Shay Shay got, Shannon Sharp, and maybe the number of views that Cat Williams got, and how much more money Cat and Shay going to make from this. And then also, here comes Monique. Then you wake up D.L. Hughley. You wake up, Steve and Harvey always been awake, but he's responding. So everybody in the community is touching on this thing. Mike Epps got involved. Mike Epps had a little back and forth. Next thing you know, he's on the show. You know what I'm saying? So they did a little thing with him at the All-Star game. So when I thought about it, I said, man, that's genius. And I'm saying, why is nobody mad at Shannon Sharp for dropping that content and opening up those cans of worms?
You know what it makes me think? It makes me think about one of the laws, 48 laws of power. Court attention at all costs. So when you're looking at social media and you be like, man, why would somebody put that? They know it's going to be a firecracker piece of content, but they know it's going to get the people talking. You know what I mean? And there's no such thing as bad publicity. No. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, whether the content is positive or negative, if it get the people talking, you're going to gain the attention.
Exactly.
And just like it did all. As soon as I seen one of them clips, I watched the podcast.
Absolutely.
I sat through it. It's like 2 hours long, but based off from the clip I seen, it was the hook. You know what I'm saying? It hooked me in. Now it's a heavy conversation.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
But then you got average Joes feeding off of it as well.
Because they want to be a part of it. The algorithm's
but
working now.
It works.
You know what I'm saying?
Because like just being like an analyst, like people are analyzing. I had one guy, this white guy that was on there. He was breaking down whether or not Cat Williams was lying. He is one of those guys. His business is to look at body language, behavior. He was talking about when Cat kept adjusting his hat. Talking about when Cat was scratching his head. When Cat looked this way. When Cat took a drink. He was examining his every bit of body language. He did the same thing for Monique. So now his podcast went through the roof. Well, not his podcast, but his Instagram page went through the roof because he was able to dissect, whether it's believable or not, what he's saying. But it was interesting.
But what's deep about that, what you're saying, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about hiring yourself.
Yes.
He saw an opportunity. He's like, how do I get a piece of that?
Yes.
So he put the work in to analyze, did the work, put it out there. Whether people like it or not, he still made that for himself.
Right.
And a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people are doing that. Some people are remixing. You'll see them on, like you said, IG or on the stories. Somebody in front of them, they look at, you know what I'm saying, this be in the background. It's like people are inserting themselves in what's hot. So they riding that wave. But when the wave is over, you know what I'm saying, hopefully you've picked up some skills that work. You put the content out there, you tested it to the public. Okay, people like this. So now you just got to find the next thing if you can't create it yourself. But you got to do that.
Right.
And that stuff works.
So what was deep about him, too, I just thought about while you were speaking. Say he got 300,000 views from his piece of his analysis of the body language of Cat Williams, whether he was lying or not. And now let's just say of the 300,000 views, 10 lawyers hit him up and say, hey, I'm trying to interrogate a witness, or I'm trying to defend a client, and I want you to observe their body language in their testimony, or some police department, FBI, somebody hires him as a specialist because they watch him break down Cat Williams, and they say, hey, I could use you as an expert witness. I could use you to kind of, get my legal game together, like how I'm going to approach things, because the way you're breaking it down. So that's pretty deep. But let's go to this, because you and I are close to this situation in the same space. So we have a family photographer other than you, and Bezo, Brittany. And Brittany took pictures of you and your family and did your wedding, all that good stuff. Brittany did a before and after photo shoot with her family. And I'm gonna let you tell the story of what she did and what happened.
So Mel brought it to Mimi brought it to my attention. She sent me the reel. She was like, yo,
that's
check
Mulder's
this
daughter.
Yo, yeah, that's daughter. Okay. So Mimi sent me a link on Instagram. And I'm just, first she sent it to me, I'm looking at, oh, that's nice. But she's like, nah, check out the views. So I check out the views, and there's like 10 million views on IG. And I'm like, yo, that's tough. I think that's dope. But when I started understanding what happened, so she had like a before and after picture from when they was young, everybody in the face, like 20,000 of them. You know what I'm saying? Just about like 20-something of them. But they had a picture of them way back in the group family picture. So what they did, well, I guess they had the idea to make play off a reel or something like that, do something current, and kind of do a comparison for the photography, right? So she does that, and she drops it on, I think she dropped it on TikTok at first, or whichever, she dropped it, right? Next thing you know, it's blowing up, getting millions and millions of views. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking that's because...
It ain't the next thing. It's like within hours.
It blows up, but that's how fast social media can take off. You know what I'm saying? So it blows up. You know what I'm saying? They're getting national attention. Next thing you know, they on the news. The new Fox 5 covering their story. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful moment. You know what I'm saying? But then it's at the same time, I'm looking at it. You know what I'm saying? I love Brittany work. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, she took my son's pictures, me and my wife, did the wedding. I love her work. You know what I'm saying? So from one creator to another creator, kudos. Yeah. You there now. You know what I mean? But there's also a thought in the back of my mind, which might be on hers, is like, how do I leverage this? You know what I mean? Because when success come quick, you got to be on it. And if you don't have no game plan, you got to figure something out quick. Now, I don't know what she's doing now, but I seen she did something smart. She offered those type of family group style photos for people out there now. You know what I'm saying? So after that blew up, she's like, all right, bet, let me go ahead and offer this as a service. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody likes that type of stuff.
And let's just say she only picks up 50 clients, but that's 50 clients she didn't have.
But that's the beauty of social media. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can create something new, but yet again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, it's beautiful, but why? Like, what was the secret sauce? What was the magic that made that particular simple photo shoot, or well, behind the scenes, I guess she did a BTS of the photo shoot. Why so people were like enthralled with that? Like, oh my God.
Well, I think one of the things is it's simple. You know what I'm saying? It's so simple to the fact that you wouldn't think something like that would kind of take off. But yet again, it's cool because it's like you're playing off past and present. A lot of the same people were still in the picture, so it's just kind of it plays off people's attention and emotion. Like, oh, maybe I could do something with my family. I wish I had that. Or, oh, that's cool to see them there, see them from back then till now. It's something that simple. Wow. And it's like, and I feel like we get into a habit of overcomplicating stuff when everything is simple. It don't mean it's easy. It's simple.
No, I'm with you on that. Because if you go back in the day, like in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the best commercials were the most simplest commercials.
The most simplest joints.
So, it could be a simple little baby doing something, and you captured, captivate.
But to your question, like you said, why and how does that work?
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like something so...
Because it's like unbelievable that 10 million people could watch your post that quick within hours.
But think about how long the post was. I think the post was like maybe 10 to 15 seconds.
Right.
So that replay value.
Yes.
And it's
They
really
watch it over
shareable.
and
If
over.
I shared it to you, you may watch it. You may miss something the first time. Okay, well, who's this person? So if you're looking at it like, and you're trying to just like analyze, like you talking about that dude, how many people are in this photo? How many people in this photo look the same or look
Or
different?
were they really in the same spots?
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So
And then you say, okay, to your point. So this person on the right, that's them 20 years ago, and that's them. Okay, I got to run it back. It's only 30 seconds. Next. Yeah,
you
I
see,
got you.
You see what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so that in its simplicity, there's complexities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's more than just, like you said, more than just looking at a photo. It's more so like, okay, is this person lined up with that? Oh, the video's on. Let me play it back real quick. You know what I'm saying? And now imagine that millions of people are doing that.
Yeah, so it's the playback. The playback. So that's a good nugget that when you drop something, give people a reason to play it back.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes they'll put that tag, wait till the end.
Perfect example. Because when somebody say wait to the end on a video, you gonna wait to the end.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
especially if it's under a minute. I got patience. I can do that.
exactly. So it's just like, so now knowing that and going back to Brittany's video, you know what I'm saying? One, the retention rate. Okay, a lot of people's attention span now, about like 5-6 seconds. So if the video is like 8-9 seconds, you've already satisfied your, you know what I'm saying, your attention span.
Right.
And then you add replay value to it because now you need to catch something.
Right.
The users run it up. Now everybody's curious. Hey, mom, see this. Grandma, look at this. Da, 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 da.
Right.
So I think it was a beautiful play on her move.
Right.
Now it's just like anything else. Okay, what's next? You know,
Right.
and it sucks that as creators or just people that are constantly like working on content, that you may drop something that you may work 2 weeks on. Mm-hmm. You drop it. Yeah, it's
It
good.
does nothing.
What's next?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
No, exactly. And so it's interesting, I guess, for people that view this, I would say the wait till the end move is a good tag, but you gotta have something there to wait. I've had some wait till the ends and nothing happened.
Yeah.
I said, oh, and then you play it again because you said, did I miss something? Mm-hmm. So you get that again. But the other thing is, if you could play something quick that requires you to go back again because you said, I must have missed it. Mm-hmm. I must have missed it. Or that, okay, I need to do a compare and contrast because it happened so quick. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to, but that's a deep thing. Now that's looking for views. Mm-hmm. The great thing for B-Sheet Photography, Brittany, was, and we'll give her a shout out, she family, is that it can turn into, or gave her some business sense, business idea to turn it into. So let's go back to that. All right, so we are business folks as well. Mm-hmm. What nuggets could we drop to say, how do I create a semi-viral piece? That was a super viral piece of content, but a semi-viral that would eventually turn into business for me. Like, what are some tips you may want to give?
So when it comes to tips, I say this, man, like, obviously you want to make things simple, but yet again, you have to figure out, like when you're watching stuff, you got to figure out, okay, why am I feeling this way when I'm watching it? Prime example, if I'm watching, like, let's say there's a video clip of August just running down the steps with no music. Why would I want to watch that? But now if the music on there is interesting, if it triggers an emotion, okay, now I'm understanding like the cinematography, the tactics behind something. Now you hear the music. Now if there's a quote about something that's relative, you know what I'm saying, or that's something that's relatable, and I hear that, and I'm like, okay, damn, so now there's some relatability to me. So it's like, so when you're creating content based off this kind of niche or whatever demographic you're trying to service, you got to think about the things that catch your attention. And not necessarily always cater to the audience, but yet again, like, if something got you interested 9 times out of 10, it's going to make somebody else feel interested. So and when I create, a lot of my stuff, I like to say is either cinematic, it sounds good, whatever audio's in the background, and then I try to make sure shots look clean. You know what I'm saying? Because I know it's audio and visual. You know what I mean? So when it comes to somebody out there just trying to create for their own self, you got to analyze and think, what do I like?
Right.
And you got to try it. And you have to test that. Right. Because yet again, what you think you like or what you like may not necessarily be what everybody else like. That's okay. But if you're trying to cater your services to a certain group of people, you got to kind of study.
Right.
You know what
so
I'm saying?
That's important.
You got to do the work.
Right.
You
Who your
gotta
demographic
study.
is.
Exactly.
So you can create a viral video that has nothing to do with your demographic. See, what Brittany did was she created a family video. So people have families. It resonates. Like we talk about filmmaking.
Exactly.
You got to say something about a parent in filmmaking because everybody has a parent, whether you lived with your parent or your parent gave you up for adoption or your parent raised you or a single parent, double parents, whatever. We all got parents, grandparents. So when you bring a parent into the storyline, it's natural. Almost every story has a parent.
You can relate. You know
right.
what I mean?
So she had a relatable piece of content that required you to keep the views up because you wanted to make sure you looked at each person in that, and like you said, it was about 20 of them. So you look at each person and say, oh, okay, I see the before and after. And that way you can compare. So you may have got 20 views per person in that short span. And then also it probably only takes some celebrity type, and don't have to be your Beyoncé's or Kim Kardashian's, but somebody that got 1 million followers that looked at it, and everybody's watching what everybody else is watching.
There you go. But even now my question is, like, just how you asked me that, right? What do you get when you watch Coach Prime? Like, what feel? Because you a coach, you know what I'm saying?
Coach Prime, you know, I'll be very honest with you. A large part of what I'm doing here, and also what I'm doing now in my post, which I started last couple of weeks, is really centered on how he's presenting himself.
So break that down.
So Coach Prime, first and foremost, he was very smart to have one of his sons, I think it's his oldest son, that follows him everywhere. And he's literally recording him with his cell phone. You know, so he's not bringing out the black magic and all that. He's bringing out the cell phone. But then what he's doing is he's giving short nuggets, or he's showing his relationships with people. He's showing and it's not always celebrities. These are guys that he, you know, hung out with at Jackson State or people at Colorado, just, you know, friends. And we all know who he's connected to. He's a Hall of Fame football player, you know, World Series in the baseball. He can hang out with everybody from the president all the way down. But what he's showing you is that this is the life of a coach, coach life, right? And so in that process, he'll let his son film how he breaks down his team, how he approaches situations, how he talks about, hey, I don't like the way y'all dress. Or, hey, brings up his women's staff and say, y'all gonna respect these ladies. That's not for the cameras, but he's allowing that to happen. So what I'm trying to do with my content is to let people behind the scenes or inside the gym or inside a meeting or whatever, with whatever I do. So whether I'm doing Sports Management Leadership Institute, whether I'm coaching my basketball team, whether I'm doing my events, I'm going to let people see the real me. And they're going to get to know my personality, because that is a process that he's doing that is very inspirational to me. And then his nuggets, just seeing a brother go out and do the things that he's doing and positively influence, but then you see the adversity. You see the hate. You see all that stuff.
But you need that.
Yeah, because that's truth.
Yeah.
You know, you don't become a leader without people hating on you. You know, when you are a leader, criticism, constructive or not, is a part of the game. And if your skin ain't thick, then you're gonna fail as a leader, because and you can't just ignore that criticism, because that criticism may be something that adjusts your game plan.
Exactly.
Or you prepare to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thing that Coach Prime has done, which I've already done because I'm a little older than him, maybe a lot older than him, every chess move he done made was to benefit his children. See, he knew that when he was in high school as an assistant coach for his son's high school team, that he wanted to be a part of that coaching staff because he wanted to make sure his son was being coached correctly. And then when both his sons demonstrated that they had the ability to play Division I, he went and got a Division I job to bring them in to continually coach them. I mean, he went to Jackson State, and he turned that program around in 3 years. But then the opportunity to go to a bigger school, because his sons then showed the promise of possibly being NFL players. So they're not going to make it to the NFL from Jackson State. One, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the capacity to scale their players to that level, plus they don't have the schedule. So he takes this Colorado job, and he took a lot of criticism for that. So every chess move he made was to go there. Now his sons are there. He was on TV promoting his book the other day. See, because he's using his platform now to promote his book.
Leverage.
And I got more books coming out. I got one book here, My Life, My Stories, My Point of View. And I'm working on a couple other books. We can talk about that later.
But before you go any further, what I want you to talk about, because as you're breaking down Coach Prime and me knowing kind of your story, I'm seeing some correlations here. So what Prime did for his kids is the same thing you were doing with your kids, and especially when you had the gym and with the organization Hoop Booth.
Absolutely. So not knowing what Prime was doing, or Prime didn't know me to follow my script, because I did it before. I did it before Prime.
You heard that, Prime?
I did it before you, Prime. But I feel you. Everything I did was to position my kids. So, for example, when I started my training and development program, it was to give my kids activity. But then when I morphed that into a basketball travel program and my son played, I did that even though he was more geared towards football, but I put him in the basketball program because I created his friends. I created his ecosystem. And I created how he was going to be raised. But the other thing I did, and my daughter as well, your wife, I put them in the same system because they got to see their father as a leader. See, Prime's kids, people say, oh, you get to coach your kids. Beautiful. But also his kids get to see his father lead.
Yeah, that's deep.
See, you want to lead by example. So sometimes you could see your parent get up every day, work hard, drive wherever they got to go, come home, and you admire that. You may admire how they dress. You may admire how people respect them in the street. But if you could be in front of them every day and you could lead and they could see all of your temperaments. My kids have seen me cry in front of people. They've seen me laugh. They've seen me go off. They've seen me hug. They've seen me be compassionate to 300-400 kids that don't have my blood. And for them to be able to see that, hopefully it influenced them. They seen me go back to college in my 50s and get master's degrees and another undergrad degree and now pursuing a doctorate degree. So they're watching to say, man, at no matter what the age, this man will continue to pursue his dreams, you know, and it don't come easy. Opening up the gym, they were able to see me take the largest project that I've ever encountered and open up an 80,000 square foot gym and borrow from a bank, a financial institution, $1.3 million. And I'm a poor kid from Brooklyn, New York, who would have never fathomed doing something like that. But I didn't do it for my ego. I did it to show them how you open up a business. And what happened? My son worked in that business. My daughter attended all the camps and clinics in that business. So they started seeing some things that, you know, what Prime's kids are seeing, you know, his enterprise. They're seeing how he roll. They're getting NIL money, name, image, and likeness money. They're getting that because guess what? They see their father working the media, working corporate America to benefit the program, but also to benefit his family. So that's the point where I would say to you as a father, every decision you make, every chess move you make, which means you could be aggressive or you can lay back and watch the board a little bit. You can use the people around you. Whatever that case is, you know, as your children grow up, as your daughter and your son grow up, you got to realize they're always watching. They'll mimic you now.
Because I remember when we was in the studio, and me and you were sitting there having a conversation, and you was just like, you know what? Make sure you are in front of your kids.
Yep.
Make sure they see you working, and you know what I'm saying. And my take on that is like, you right. Because like when you were saying like we used to admire our parents going back and forth to work, I remember what it's like. Both my parents go to work, me and my brother in daycare, But I also remember when my mom would have clients at the house. You know what I'm saying? She was running her business. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just like by seeing that and then creating that situation for myself and then being coached by you, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but for me, it's worth it. All the ups and downs, like I was on the phone with Ava the other day. She's like, you at the studio? I'm like, nah, baby, the studio closed down. Oh, does that mean you lost your job? Like, nah, I don't mean I lost my job.
No, you transition.
But it's the transition, and for the fact that, like, she sees that and she understands. And I know Kendrick know, but Kendrick, he don't know too much. He just running around. But
But he's watching you.
He's watching, and I get it. And
You're
just
playing with buttons and cameras and all that, and then you watch him. He come down there, he flicking things. You make smoothies. He's down there. You filming him. I'm making smoothie like my dad.
Yeah.
You know, he is being you. And you think that because he's 2, he's not getting it. No, he's getting it.
No, that boy's smart, man. Look,
No, he's getting it.
Yeah, I know he's getting it.
And I'll say this to the public, that I was fortunate enough to have a strong career in finance, and I worked for 2 Fortune 50 companies and 3 of the largest banks in the world in my career on the finance side. And the result of my being in front of my children is that all 3 of them work at the financial institution that I last worked at.
That's a hell of an impression. I'll tell you
And
right
that's a
now,
Fortune
boy,
50 company.
Yeah.
One's in legal, one's in capital markets, one's in technology. All 3 of my kids. And all 3 of them have entrepreneur endeavors. I'm a partner with my son with We Hoop, Boothe Global Sports. My oldest daughter has a CMOS business. And my youngest was a producer and editor on our film. And she's about to get out there with some DJing and some other media stuff. She is definitely somebody that probably has followed my personality and my sort of understanding and reading situations. My son has all my interests: DJing, running tournaments, refereeing, coaching. That's my son. And then on the top part, we got my oldest daughter, who has that business analytical way of how to navigate her way through people and talk to people, that sales stuff. So they've been watching me since birth. Don't think your children ain't watching you.
And and the thing is, I know my children are watching, and I know that your children are watching you. So what my question to you is, so as a parent, I know I'm a parent, yeah, but you more in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Grandparent.
You're a grandparent. So as a parent, like, what's something that you can tell other parents, especially young black men, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to them having business endeavors or just ideas or just being a dad in general? What's something that you would let them know?
I had a good friend.
That have kids, people that got kids too.
I shouldn't even say I had. I have a good friend. He's like an older brother to me. He said something very profound to me when I was probably like about 21. He said, "Hey, Boothe," because everybody calls me by my last name back home. "Hey, Boothe, we're going to have some kids, man." And I said, "Oh, man, I don't think I could afford them. I had the money, man. Plus, I got some goals I want to do. I got things I'm trying to achieve." He said, "Man, don't worry about that stuff. You know, let life happen. If it happens, it happens. But don't stop. Don't do everything to avoid it." And what I say that is, a lot of people look at life and they look at life's obstacles, adversity, stumbling blocks, roller coaster, up and down, all that. And it's easy for us to say, I'm going to put off this family thing. I'm going to put a ring on it thing for the young lady that I may be in love with. And you got to understand that, first of all, you're stronger in 2s than you are with 1. 2 fists, 4 fists is better than just 2. But the other piece of it is that I would tell young people is that as you are putting in all this effort to pursue your dream, whether it's on your job or you want to be an entrepreneur and you're doing your thing, you put all this effort in and say, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to take these bumps and bruises. Just take the same attitude and the same effort into your relationship. You see, because I encourage family. I encourage, having a spouse, having a significant other. That's huge, man, because my life became so positive when I settled down and I decided that I'm going to be with this one woman and she's going to be my ride or die from the standpoint of doing business with me, from the standpoint of listening to me, from the standpoint of supporting me, guiding me, advising me. You see, those are the things that, you're going to get the love. And I'm not saying love is at the bottom. There's no kind of hierarchy in this, but does your spouse advise you? Does she tell you when you went too far or you need to pull back?
Yeah.
Does she guide you? No, stay on the course. Stay on the course. Don't do something different. Does she support you, your dreams, your goals, your outcomes? We need support.
Yeah.
Us brothers need support. And if you found that in that person, and of course you got the love and the lust and all that other stuff that goes on with it, then you got to put in just as much effort into that as you would put into your dreams and goals. Because when we're young, we don't dream and goal. Men don't have these dreams and goals of that beautiful woman that's going to do all that. You know, we may say, yeah, we want to have a wife, we want to have a couple of kids or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't paint the picture of what she's going to look like and how those conversations going to go. We don't paint that picture. Now, we have our women that we see on the TV screen that we idolize.
Yeah, you got something you fantasize about.
Yeah, you fantasize. But, hey, listen, I fantasize about a lot, but I would never want to marry them, which was, you know, a little different. Especially some of them been married 5-6 times.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to marry her?
That's not a strong track record, my brother.
Yeah. And some of them get married, get divorced, and whoa, something's wrong with this young lady.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, beautiful to look at, all that good stuff. So we don't grow up kind of looking at it in that detail. However, women look at it in that detail. They want a man that's going to advise, support, guide, provide, protect, all that. They look at all that. Because I think their parents, especially their mothers, are putting that, you need a man to do all that stuff. So when it comes to us, we could see a business idea or we could see a career and we could say, yeah, I want to make X amount of money. I want to have this title. I want to have a job that allows me to travel. I want a job that allows me to work from home. You can get into your details and your specificities with a job or a career pursuit. But a spouse pursuit, you don't do that. See, so then it bites you and it comes out of nowhere. And a lot of us get scared. They're like, man, all this come with this young lady? So now you got to adjust your world, right, to meet those expectations because now you're sizing up. And what do most men do? They size up their woman to their mother. Because that's the only woman that they know that does advice.
It's going to love you unconditionally.
Right, and they'll give you the advice. They're going to give you the support. They're going to guide you. They've been doing that since you were born. So they say, if you can't do the things my mother doing, to some extent, man, if you can't cook like somebody's mother, they're like, I don't want nothing to do with you.
Big deal breaker, yeah.
Big deal breaker. So I think us as men, we're not thinking about it the right way. You know, and I'm not trying to be Steve Harvey or nobody. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be just, answer your question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I got you.
But I'm not a relationship person. I can talk about business relationships better than I can talk about those relationships. But I know what works for me. And what works for me is those things. I needed somebody to partner with. And my partner had to be able to give me good advice, support me in my dreams and goals, don't stop me. And in that, you're going to counsel me, but you also are going to protect me, and you're going to provide. And that providing may not be money, but that providing could be other things. And those things that I need.
I agree with that.
And then I reciprocate.
Yeah, but there you go. Reciprocation is the biggest part because it's like you can have all those things in a person, but yet again, if they're feeling neglected, if they're always feeling like they're doing the pouring, I'm pouring into you, I'm pouring into you, and you're not turning the lens to look at me, you know what I'm saying, then it can be an issue. Now, some people are very, very passive. They're not going to say nothing.
Right.
Just one day, you're just going to wake up, they're going to be gone. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or they'll maybe be off with somebody else. But to your point when it comes to like the partnerships and relationships, I do think it's key to really, really have and find somebody, you know what I'm saying, that you can stick with.
But see, life is seasons, man.
It is. True.
So there's a season. There's seasons for the individual, and then there's seasons for the partnership. So in the partnership, you got to understand that sometimes y'all might both be clicking at the same time. Sometimes one's clicking and one's not. Sometimes one is transitioning, the other's not. Sometimes one is preparing to transition, whatever, right? So those seasons have to be understood that the camera may not be on me right now. It's not my season, it's that person's season.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? And so when we get caught up in this stigma in our mind that we always got to be marching at the same tune all the time. No, there's some foundational things that y'all do together. We stay true to each other. We come home every night. We eat, dinner together as much as we can. We raise our children together. Those are foundational. But where it gets confusing is when you got to make chess moves. Your chess game and your spouse chess game may not be on the same page. So now you got to say, all right, whose season is it? Who makes the sacrifice? You know what I'm saying? To say, all right, we're going to go, I'm going to get on your board and I'm going to follow your move. And then I'll readjust my board. And then vice versa. See, and that comes through communication. The more you talk about it, the more you'll understand, I'm going to flow with you. You got the wheel. Like, you know, when you're taking a long trip on a drive, you say, I'm tired, you drive.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I trust you to drive. I'm going to rest my head. I trust you to drive. And, you know, it's like my wife and I drive 90% of the time. But sometimes when we coming back from New York, I'm exhausted. I said, listen, can you do the turnpike? She said, I got you. So for an hour and a half, she got me, and I'm out. So when I have that type of relationship where I can trust that she can lead, and it's her season to lead the family to the next time we switch back and I drive again, that's the part where you have to understand. Now, what gets in the way, man, is egos.
Facts.
Because we all have ego.
And before you go too deep into the egos when it comes to personal relationships, I want you to speak on now business relationships when it comes to egos.
Yeah.
And like in all the endeavors that you have, stuff that we've had, like when it comes to that trust, because when you talk about mom, you know what I'm saying, she'll drive and you'll be able to close your eyes. There's a level of trust there.
Yes.
With your project, with your baby, with your life.
Yes.
So when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, having trust when it comes to business and not letting egos get into play, like what's something that you can kind of like speak about?
I'm going to be able to speak about this very, very truthfully and honestly. So my greatest project I mentioned earlier was opening up the 80,000 square foot facility. Mm-hmm. One of the, if not the largest, outside my family, my children, but from a business perspective, it probably was the biggest, if not the biggest, accomplishment I've ever had. Proud as a mofo. Not just raising the money, but also just doing it, right? During the recession in 2009, when there was no money out there, you know, I weathered the storm, got it open. I had about 10 or so what I would call minority partners, okay? And the one thing I learned about opening up a business, and we can go deeper into this in another session, but is there's rounds of funding. Mm-hmm. There's an initial round, there's an opening round, and then there's a second round that you kind of need. And then that second round is to give you the surety that if things fall or people don't cling to your business right away. And we had a lot of delays, man. The county was really just doing us wrong. We had tons of delays, unnecessary delays, and we had to kick out a lot more money on the startup because of just really being inexperienced that you were going to go through this, and the county played us. And you know, I had to get the NAACP involved just to kind of get open. So that's how ugly it got. But needless to say, it got open. Now, as we go through the process, the business lost its busiest season. So we start out in the slow season. So we're in the slow season, and we start out. I'm in there grinding with my team of employees, and we're just trying to just say, let's take this slow season and promote the heck out of this business. Grassroots marketing. We didn't have the social media back then, right? So we promote, we get to the springtime, and then all of a sudden, we hit that second round of funding need. So when I presented the second round of funding to the partnership, half the partnership was in, the other half partnership reneged. So then we had this divide. And in the divide it got ugly because now you've seen who's on whose side. My ego was shattered because I'm like, you all were with me. Matter of fact, all my partners, I coached every single one of their kids. Yeah. So you all were with me. You trusted me with your children, and you were with me as we built this thing. You see it, it's here.
When it was up, we was up. And then when it started going down,
so,
like,
yeah,
nowhere
you're
right.
with me through thick, but not through thin. So my ego was shattered. But working on that relationship, I immediately shut down. And I became very vengeful from the standpoint of they all had jobs. I'm the only one that didn't have a job. My job was the facility. My job was running that business. I was getting paid. I was paying myself like $500 a week. And I'm working 60, 70 hours a week. And I just came off a job probably making about $180,000 a year to do this. So they didn't show any empathy towards my situation, where ultimately I get a car repossessed. I had to sell my second home where my parents lived. So I had to move my parents out, basically evict them. Broke my heart. And my parents had to go and live with my sister for a minute, then eventually moved to an apartment. But I'm like, y'all have no empathy for me. You're not looking at what I'm doing. And I'm barely, thanks to my partner, my wife, keeping my current home. And so they decided that they wanted to remove me as CEO of the company. And so there was this, not all of them, but there was this rebelliousness. And I said, you know what? I'm going back to work. So God is good because I got skills and I got experience. I got me a high-powered job at a Fortune 50. And I said, okay, y'all run the day-to-day. I didn't trust them to do it. And I put them in a position to fail because I wanted them to fail because they didn't understand how hard it was to run that business. So as they came in and we set up a schedule for them to run the day-to-day, they would call on my phone 10 times a day. What is this? What do I do? Do. They didn't know what they were doing.
They
So ultimately, they hired some knucklehead to run the business. And this guy was a thief, and he was stealing and doing all types of stuff. And eventually, I came in and exercised my legal right. And I threw them all out. The crazy guy and them. I said, I got to go. So then all of a sudden, the business was thriving because I figured out the model. But what I did was, the fact is that the question around trust is, or the lesson learned about trust, is I should have, in the very beginning, trusted that they could help me run this business. I decided I wanted to run every part of the business so I knew what I was doing. So then when I did trust, I knew what to do. And ultimately, it turned out that way. But because they weren't included, right, in me developing and teaching them every step of the way, then when it was time for them to step in and help, they couldn't help me because they didn't know. So that was a bad chess move on my end. I didn't do it deliberately in the beginning, but I started to really shut down on them when I've seen this divide.
You started doing the math, is what you would say.
Do the math. I said, you know what? So ultimately, the business didn't fail because of that situation. The business failed because there was some landlord to landlord. The two owners of the building sued each other, and then we were asked to move. Now, if I had the trust of the partnership, we could have all collectively got that stuff to another site, but we didn't. So we wound up closing. But God got me out of the deal. So he negotiated the best deal in the world. And we go into that later. But from a business standpoint, if you go into a partnership, whether it's minority or percentage-wise, you equally own the business, you have to develop a trust. But the trust has to be based on capability, experience, skills, and empowerment.
No, that's true. Because if you got people on in your team that aren't capable of meeting those standards that are set, like, it's just bad for business.
Yeah, you can't trust that they can get the job done.
Yeah.
So, but if you see a deficiency, you stay in your lane. Everybody stays in their lane. And see, what I had on my partnership, I had people that were good technically. I had people that were good financially with numbers. I had people that were accountants. I had people that were husbands was electricians. I had all that. And I didn't leverage any of that. So that was on me because I wanted to learn it first.
Now, was that ego talking? You know what I'm saying?
Huge ego.
Ego was in the way,
My ego
man.
was huge, man. You come into that facility, the first thing you do is see a big picture of me. Because I want everybody to know this was my dream. I birthed it. I opened this thing up.
Now, do you feel like, you know what I'm saying, with having such a strong ego throughout your life, and especially when you're doing stuff that you know how to do you feel like that pushed some people away from you in your life? That kind of look at you like, yeah, I like Craig, but nah, I ain't getting close to him again.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people, go back to Prime. I'm sure there's a lot of people that misconstrue his confidence, right, for being cocky. My ego, see, when people have a strong ego, they really don't allow people to stroke their ego. Like, you can't gas me up because we gassing ourselves up.
Very fact.
You can't. You can't pat me on the back and make me feel good.
Yeah, because I already kind of knew that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm making myself feel good.
Yeah.
I don't need you to make me feel good. You know, you can't come and say, you're a great basketball coach. I already know that. See, so my ego is strong enough, and that's the ultimate level of confidence. So some people who would like to manipulate another's ego by stroking them or by damaging their ego, if they can't do that, they stay away from you. They don't want to mess with you. So you got to look at it from that perspective. It is not that my ego is so strong that I can't partner. Because being in the sports business, I understand team. Being a point guard all my career, I know how to take care of the people around me. And I was a very successful point guard. So being a coach, and as a successful coach, I know how to build teams. I know how to do we is greater than me. I understand that. But my ego is I understand the process by which I learned, by which I'm going to implement to get it done. And you can't take me off my game, nor can you stroke my ego, manipulate my ego for your benefit. It's just too powerful. There are people out there that you just can't move that way. So to me, that's your leaders in this world. And leadership, very few leaders, many, many, many millions of followers. And when people learn how to follow better, then they can get along better with leaders. And if leaders learn how to lead better, and sometimes you got to be servient. Sometimes you got to allow the people around you to do what they got to do. That goes back to my sports booth example of the facility. There were times that I needed to be servient, and I was not. You know, I was an authoritative leader. That's how I was. My way or the highway.
They hit the highway.
Right. Yeah, they did. And only because I was trying to learn it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't trust giving this to you yet. Like, we had $1 million boiler in there that was there, existed in the building before we got there. Man, that thing was like, you ever see a battleship with all, Navy movie, them big beams? It was one of them things, man. I was so afraid somebody come in and touch it wrong, it'll blow up. And no one was there. There was no predecessor because the building was vacant for 2 years. There was nobody there to teach us how to do it. So I had this little old dusty manual. And I'm like, oh, how do you do this thing?
So you had to kind of be in that space where it's just like, if everybody's like around you, they're willing to help you, and you're trying to learn this new information. So you got to kind of approach it like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. I don't have time to not know, so I need to do what I need to do to figure it out, and basically show that everything's under control. Even if I don't know, I'm gonna go find the answer.
And then also their availability. They had jobs. So when I got to deal with the fire marshal or I got to deal with electrician
It's all you
during
basically.
the day, it's on me. It's on me. So I had to do that because I could not wait. We had to get this thing open. So, and then of course, I had all the experience in building the sports programs. And that was my thing anyway. So it all kind of panned out. But once they felt like it wasn't their building, it was only mine, and they kicked in for it, and they were partners, they shut down. Except for the handful, about 5, that didn't allow themselves to feel that way. They showed up. I'm here, I'm putting 3 hours. I'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 hours. Now I got somebody to talk to. I got somebody to show something to. But the others, they were more passive, and they were waiting for me to pull them in. But a good leader would have done that. I would have got them in. So I failed, but I learned a lot about running a business of that magnitude with that many problems. So that was a great question, because I think that partnership in business, and I would take the word partnership back because it's not always a partnership. To me, it's like a relationship.
Yeah.
The relationships that you create in business are so critical to your success. So whether it's your partners, the relationship you have with your partner, your consumers, your service providers, all those relationships are key.
And I think, man, it's just building relationships in general. Because one of the main things that I can say is from working on Ball Side Middle and seeing how you leverage a lot of the relationships that you have with people and people to really, really get this, get this film off. It's just like, damn, like, we filming in New York. Like, he know this guy. And it's like you just know so many things, and you were able to pull in people to help get the story together. You know what I'm saying? And
so let's segue into that, but let me just say where that comes from. So I have an innate ability that when I meet somebody or I observe something, I register it. So if I meet somebody, say I'm at a conference, I meet a bunch of people, I collect business cards. I make sure I categorize those business cards. Now, I'm not an OCD person. They're not all
Yeah.
I got them, and then I follow up immediately. Within 2 days, 3 days, I'm sending them an email. Hey, pleasure meeting you. Hopefully we can correspond. Here's my website. Here's a little something that I do, etc. The other side of it is, what I do is I tell people all the time, like say you want to get into the film business and you want to know who's the top executives at, Warner Films. Well, you got to start going research. Maybe go to LinkedIn, maybe go to the website, write down a name and look at the face. Try to find a face with the name so that when you go to that media conference or that film conference and that person's a speaker or that person's walking through, it can register in your mind, hey, how you doing? Aren't you Mr. Such and Such? Or if you're in a room, you know who they are, even if you may not cross paths, but you know who that person is. You have a relationship in your mind that person is the executive here. A lot of things you guys always say to me, and people say, who don't you know?
Yeah, fact.
Like we have a mutual friend, or your friend, your best friend, who's going into this fire business, fire department, EMS, and things like that. And because he's taking these exams, I just happen to know 3-4 people in that space. Now, a lot of this comes from being a coach, basketball, parents.
But relationships.
But you build relationships. Yeah. So when Ballside Middle was birthed, and we got to give it a shameless plug. Well, sure, it ain't shameless. This is our podcast. We're going to talk about it.
Hey, the truth is here. You know what I mean?
So you posted something a few weeks ago, and I thought it was hilarious, but it's also a part of the theme of life. What you say to the universe, what you ask for in the universe will come to you.
Yeah.
Now, that's why I always tell people, make sure you're specific.
Yeah, because you're going to get what you ask for.
Right.
Yeah.
I asked to coach a girls' basketball team this year and teach girls how to play basketball. I didn't know that they were going to be, that
Yeah. But you got it, though.
That challenging. I should have been a little bit more specific. But anyway, you had said in your post that you were about 14 years old, whatever, that you want to make a movie.
Yeah.
And you were passionate about it. Yeah, I just, one day you were talking real fast. But I just want to make a movie one day. I want to be a film director. I want to make a film.
Yep.
And fast forward.
Look at us now.
2001, you completed a documentary.
2022. You said 2001.
We released it in 2022.
Yeah, but you said 2001. I was like, damn, 2001.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
God damn.
Yeah. Thanks for, we don't have to edit that now.
I'm ahead of my time, huh?
See, he's an editor too, so he just edited me. Yes, 2020. All right, so in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, I was contemplating writing another book.
Yeah.
And you came to visit me, and I was telling you a little bit about what I'm trying to do. This is before you was even in the family.
Yeah.
Maybe you were, but I didn't know about it. It wasn't
public.
I mean,
nah.
You was working your way in. But anyway, you convinced me, and my daughter thought it was a good idea as well. I should think about doing a film, especially during the time the film is focused on, 1975 to 1985. There were really no footage out there. There's nothing, this much. So I thought it was a good idea, but we didn't know what the hell we were going to talk about.
So did.
But I knew I could call up a bunch of homies and say, hey, we're coming to New York, Brooklyn specifically, and we're going to talk about it. And started a Facebook page and draw up interest and see what kind of storylines we can get out of the Facebook page. I started doing these little posts, little 1-minute videos, and then James did an inspirational video about why we're doing the film. And we went out to the back, the side of the house, and we were able to film something. And right then and there, I saw your talent. I knew your talent before. I watched some short films that you've done. But to see how you were going to do it for my world, in the basketball world, I was like, okay. And so I got excited. I got the community excited. And then the next thing you know, we're filming. And they had just started putting the baskets back on in the parks in Brooklyn, New York.
St. John's, right?
St. John's Recreation Center, which is the anchor for the film. And lo and behold, as we filmed, as we talked about the history to some of the older guys, some of my former teammates, some of the guys I played against, we started morphing the story. But our first version was more of, we just had bits and pieces. It was more family reunion type.
The first, I'll say this, from working on this film, like day and night and day, you know what I'm saying? Like the first version, it was like the biggest rough draft we could ever have. Because honestly, it was kind of like everywhere. Like multiple,
hodgepodge.
You know what I'm saying? Multiple talking head, different styles and all of that.
We even talked that way. You talked me into, man, you can do whatever you want.
You feel me? Like, but it's like you realize, okay, there needs to be some type of structure here. You know what I'm saying? Just more so for just like a whole quality control type thing, man. But from the first draft to what it is now, man, like me and Brian, we talk about this all the time, man. The ball side middle process, it was like, it's literally like a spiritual journey because so much stuff was going on in life around this time, and we're really just trying to like everybody come together and get this project done, and like this ebbs and flows in life, and being stressed out, and you get mad as hell from to curse everybody else because we ain't meeting the deadlines because we try to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like it really took a toll on us, and I'll say, but it was a good toll because it was like a measure of our endurance. It was like, and it was a test of your faith. And just with working in the film, bro, like from Mel being pregnant and life and understanding the web of people that we're talking to, you know what I'm saying, from Brooklyn that you brought us to, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a journey, bro. And it's like, it's one of my biggest projects ever, you know what I'm saying, to date, because it's like I was fully invested. Besides the bread, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, yo, this is a project that has to get done, and this joint gonna kick your behind, and you got to put your best foot forward, because when we had to redo that joint, I was like, damn, what we about to do?
Yeah.
But we realized,
and we had to,
but going back to even when it comes to, we talking about with Brittany, we had to simplify it.
Yes.
Because the first version was super complicated, graphics everywhere, this, that, and the third.
Different shots of me
all that.
over, right.
But we had to simplify the process. And then when you stumbled across the wheel, it helped everything get organized. Right. And I'm telling y'all, organization is key. You know what I'm saying? A lot of creators, we don't think about organization because we're in the creative process, but I'm telling you, organization is key, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And to look at the evolution, I do see the spiritual context of it. When people came in at the right time, we made huge investments from, just loading up on computers and loading up on hard drives and, cameras and lights and, adding production teams when we needed to go up to Brooklyn. We understood what we needed from whom. We filmed in Brooklyn, we filmed in North Carolina, we filmed in Georgia. Yeah. We drove to Georgia and worked our way back. We did a lot of stuff, but what I felt out of you guys was you learned to balance the hard work, because there were 14 to 18-hour days at times, but you learned to balance because we had our dinners.
Yeah, we had dinners. We had that. You may pull up, you may be gone, but everybody at the house, you pull up, everybody outside playing knockout. You know what I'm saying?
Like we go out there and shoot some hoop. Right. Then y'all had your own late at night, let's entertain ourselves with some music. Yep. Each of you had your own different style of how you worked, but I like the cohesion because, when somebody needed a foul or somebody needed one. But what was difficult, I think, for you, because of your creative space, was like, okay, I know what I need to do, but delegating that work and getting them to stay on task. So then we flipped it to Mel, and Mel cracked a whip.
Mel, she has that.
All of y'all hated her.
Look, I hated my wife for a second. This is before we was married. But Mel has that. And when it comes for me, it's like when it comes to delegation, it could be an ego thing for me. You know what I'm saying? Because my thing is, okay, they want me on a project. I need it to look like this, that, and the third. And if I feel like people's skill sets is not up to that, I'm not going to ask for that. Right. Because I know I may not get that in return. But it taught me a lesson. It taught me something about myself. Like, bro, like you really got to learn how to lead.
Right.
But you got to look at yourself and be willing to take a step back and learn how to delegate. Because I can't do, just like you can't do everything,
Right.
I can't do everything, but you got to trust.
I watched you do projects since, and you delegate very well.
Yeah, now because ball side middle kick my behind.
I watch you at different locations, and you hiring different people to do different things. So that was a good lesson learned. We also learned about the shysters in the business.
Man.
People wanting 25% of your film because they're going to introduce you to somebody or they're going to put you in a room. And we learned a lot about that. So we went somewhat independent by going through Film Hub.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, we get picked up by Tubi. And here's a little Tubi promo.
Tubi, Amazon Prime, and like about 12 other, you know what I'm saying, independent streaming platforms.
There's a few of them that we got picked up on.
But even to that, I'm glad you kind of talked about that, because it's like, I remember like the first initial conversation, you know what I'm saying, with John Sally. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. Brian got it on, you know what I'm saying? He recorded the conversation. And the excitement that we got from like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Because you and John, y'all got the connectivity, but from outside looking in, it's like, damn, okay, we got John Sally. My man was in Bad Boys doing his thing. And we were really like, yo, this really going to go next level.
Right.
But offer everything and everybody else that was kind of a part of it that kind of gave us that, I don't want to say false sense of hope, but kind of gave us that perception of like, yeah, we really going to do something with this. It all goes back down to hiring yourself. Because you was like, we going to do this thing ourselves.
Exactly.
Start researching. That's when we found out Film Hub. When we finally got to the point what we needed to do, we got it on Film Hub, and we found out that we didn't need what we thought we needed until we took control we took control our own, and we did what we had to do.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And the magnitude of it, which people don't understand, is that Amazon Prime Video is the largest streaming platform in the world. They surpassed Netflix in the course of the time we were putting the film out. So what it means for us, our goal and our mission was to have this on a major streaming platform. We reached that. And then if not there, we were going to get to a network, right? But we got there, we got Tubi, and then about 12 others, right? Smaller platforms. Now, this project for me wasn't about compensation, but it was also about not losing money. So my goal was to break even for the investment I made in my partner, Greg. And so we're not there yet. We haven't recouped, as they would say.
Nice.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put out a process where we can get to recoupment, and God willing, everything works out. But the other goal was, again, to get on a major platform, but then there was a third goal. And the third goal was that we needed as many people in this world to see this story. Yeah. Because it's compelling, it's epic, it's a lot of factual data that people did not know.
Somebody that you may know hit me up on LinkedIn. Somebody, I don't want to be on my phone right now, but he was like, yo, ball side middle, 5 stars, man, amazing story. Thank you. I was like, thank you. I think it's Kevin Williams, somebody.
Really? So we're getting, you know, we redid the cover, and I started getting some good hits about people starting to watch it again. And we didn't drop it yet, but there's a platform out there that's illegally got our film out there, and I'm not going to put it out there because I don't want nobody to find the illegal way to look at our film. But we're getting ready to cease and desist that. But we are going to, in April, the goal is April 1, to drop Ball Side Middle on our own YouTube channel where we control it. It still will be on Prime. If you want to purchase it on Prime and you'll forever have it, which I recommend. But you also can watch it on Tubi. There's commercials. But also to support our film and our recoupment is to buy it. Is to see it on our YouTube channel, Ball Side Middle. It's actually going to be in time. We're going to do a new one. It's going to be called the Official Ball Side Middle Film Documentary. And the reason for that's also part of the go independent, like you said, hire self. We're hiring ourselves to put our film out and into the universe because we need as many people as possible. And we have a lot of shorts as well that we did in conjunction. So we'll post those as well on our channel. So you'll get to see the whole project. And then eventually we got tons of photos.
We got a lot of photos.
We're going to put those on YouTube as well, and in different reels.
We have
stuff.
so much content that, you know what I'm saying, possibilities are endless when it comes to creating stuff from it. And it's like, and I don't want people to think this right here. It's like, yeah, we have ball side middle, and it's not like we can't do another film, but I think it's about leveraging what you got to really, really try to align yourself with.
And we could possibly, like we talked about before, this could be chapter 2, 3, and 4 in ball side middle. We have that much content. We can take it to other chapters, but it's based on the foundation of the story has to be seen first.
Yeah.
And so we got to get as many people to see it as possible. But as far as you're concerned, and I'm concerned, this is not just a biased thought, but your skill and your talent level is unmeasured. People don't know how good you were to take the stuff that you had to take. And it's not just what you do with it, it's like how you find it and how you connect music and you connect the story. And you had to learn the story about these old men and what we've done in life.
But good thing, look, find out one of them was my cousin, man. That's crazy. It's the spiritual part. It's crazy, dog.
There's a lot of deep stuff. There's deep stuff in the film.
Yeah.
My spiritual connection, but then there's also with you. And those are things we want to bring out, like, as we continue to document the story, we want to take control of it. And it's coming out April, so we need y'all to jump on that. Ball side middle. It's going to be, you're going to see the flyer. It'll look something like that, the poster cover. And we're going to relaunch ball side middle for under our control. And that's hiring ourselves. So we're going to wrap up this first episode, man. This was a lot. As you can see, when we get together, our subject matter can go all around.
It can fluctuate, man, but it's good because it's like father-son talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're sitting there kicking it, we sharing ideas, and we sharing past experiences, and just talking, bro.
Absolutely. So it is March Madness time. We getting ready to watch some TV. At least I am. He's going to go home and play daddy. I'm going to go watch some March Madness and get ready for a great tournament. But I leave you. Well, what's your parting words for the episode? And I'll give you mine, but you go first.
Make sure y'all like, subscribe, share the movie when it comes out, tell everybody about it, and just follow us on social media. You got Boothe. IG is what? Booth's Basketball Breakdown?
It's Booth's Breakdown Podcast.
Booth's Breakdown Podcast. I'm A. Wader, Chiller Media, CHLN, MEDIA. Anything Chillin', that's us. But, man, make sure y'all like, subscribe, share this, and get everybody on this and this, that, and the third. You know what I mean?
Good. And stay focused. Remain calm and be organized. Peace.